Thank you, everyone. Today has been an amazing day, free from a lot of drama, a lot of ego, and most importantly, a lot of democracy, which we eradicated ourselves of today. So here's to the freedom haters, and thank you very much. I wanted to get the various project managers to go around and talk about what their groups were able to accomplish in the day, so we all know exactly, we can all get a sense of what it was that we were able to do here today before we leave, and also to get a sense of the magnitude of the stuff that has to happen that we've learned about while we've been working here today. So, Andy, why don't you start us off?
Okay. So I've been working on the Crisis Wiki project, one where we're trying to pull sort of all sorts of information about the Haiti earthquake into one wiki, but also set it up in such a way that it can incorporate information on future disasters and disaster planning for events that haven't happened yet. A lot of the morning was spent just figuring out the information architecture, what categories and subcategories we need for a broader wiki. And so the team members used the old hurricanewiki.org, made some mock-up pages there just for practice, as a couple other members of the team set up a sandbox media wiki installation that we're going to use for future efforts. We've had at least 3 or 4 researchers who are focusing on just trolling the internet for resources that would likely make it into a Haiti wiki once it's done. And then the next big thing that we're trying to figure out is how to organize all this. And so as we pass it off to the California folks, we're still really looking for people who have media wiki experience, especially with semantic markup, because we're going to have to create some ontologies to sort out all of these resources, whether by content type or by geography or by disaster. And there just wasn't enough time for us to begin that process, so hopefully all the smart folks in California will be able to kick that off. But nonetheless, we got a hell of a lot more done today than I would have ever imagined. So big thumbs up, +1 to all the guys on the team and all the ladies on the team. They really did a great job.
Greg, what about you?
Well, first thing I'd like to point out that Sean has actually created icons, I think, for all projects, which are up on the website. So please pick up your icon on the way out the door. but go ahead and add them to your pages or the other things. So we started to do that. I think a really great deliverable we came out with. It turns out that the wonderful power of translation of Google and Microsoft does not include Creole to English.
Shocker. Shocker.
Yeah.
This is my surprise.
So we were able to find from a web source, and they said okay, and we have a XML dictionary that goes Creole to English that is up on a Git repository that will probably be doing some more development. So I'd like to thank Ricky and the team who have worked on that. And that's up, and there's a link to that repository up on the website. And I think that the mobile team is actually going to use it for their translation application, and we think that it's going to get on the ground there. On top of that, because we don't have a translation, a couple of other people on our team, have not seen them. Dave and Michael have done a very simple page for translating phrases and translating a URL from English to Creole, which is actually working. So I think it's very rough, but that's also going into the repository. And then Denver has picked up a project that we've started related to all of this that Denver is picking up and running with is a pictograph. There are different types of services where it's basically a pointed visual guide for different types for travelers, and we're going to do it for Crisis, where we have a page of different types of crisis iconography or other things for translation, because one of the issues is that the literacy rate in Haiti is 50%. So that's our
Peter.
Yeah, so I was working on the project to map out what the organizations on the ground are doing. And we hit a couple of snags, but we have several dozen person hours in the bank Googling, going through organizations' websites and categorizing them in a structured way about what sort of area of relief they offer. So is it water aid or food aid or shelter, that sort of thing. We've cleaned up all the data, so it's all in a consistent format. phone numbers, websites, all that contact information, all that sort of thing. And so we've got a great data repository now of who's on the ground and what they're doing that we can pass off to developers elsewhere. They can develop maybe an application, a CRM, something like that against that data. So I'm really proud of what we've got.
Who's the project manager? We need. Are you here?
Well, I'm the one. Let's see. Well, we have an application about 75% of the way done. So there is a database and a user interface, and also an API so that it can be hooked into mobile applications. So I think we're really about maybe 8 to 16 hours away from having a fully functioning application. Views are made, models are made, URLs are made, all the design work is pretty much done, all the templates, so that's where we are. So we actually got a lot of work done. I was really surprised like how much coding actually went on. Yeah, but it's been working really well done.
John.
So never before have the enduring disaster responses to the open source community put so much resources and so much maps available, and never before has it pinged the government so hard with those resources and gotten so far ahead of it. What we tried to do is put together a timeline that looked at some of the gaps that emerged. Government is not always prepared to deal with this type of response. In fact, not always. They're not prepared to deal with this type of community interaction. We started also looking at gaps in knowledge between what the open source community has created and what's been available. We're putting that together in a couple of policy documents, and we'll also be putting that, it's in a wiki, and we'll probably move it also into a timeline. It'll get inserted. I'm going to put it into the APN network for Southcom so it can go into their planning process.
Awesome. Noel.
First off, on behalf of Heather and myself and co-founders of Crisis Camp and everybody, to say that we're humbled from what's happened here is an incredible understatement. I can't even express, my emotion for what you all have done here. People were not talking, they were working, and I think every team accomplished a ton. So to say we were thankful and thrilled beyond belief, I think is incredible. It's just awesome. Beyond, I think we're actually going to make a difference. We've got a guy working the radio community, we got the live bloggers come in, we have all these folks that, incredible. So, I was stuck doing interviews a lot of the time, so part of my team was farmed out. You want to talk about the website part?
Hey, I'm Yoav. We were trying to codify all of these projects into a single public-facing website so that when a reporter or an NGO or just a citizen wants to see what this project was, they don't end up going to the wiki, which might not be as accessible for their skill level. So we took all the projects and tried to clean up and make a simplified version of an abstract of what that project was. Took Sean's fantastic logos and we're now putting them onto a public-facing website that the Case Foundation is going to continue hosting, and then we'll work out the IPs. JP's working on a one-pager that is able to be handed off to exactly what we did today for all of this, and that's all using the content that, and the language that Sarah and Harithi, who I don't see around here, mocked up. Their stuff was awesome and built on top of Eric and Jaco's Drupal framework. So if you guys give it up for them. And now the LA team is going to continue to go Hollywood on it.
Alright, so the mobile team worked on two applications. One was for the interface mobile application for the we need. I trip that up every time. We're about 70% done with that, and it's just right now it's interfacing with the API, and we just need to hook in some more places where it hooks in with the other things so that you can actually post information to the application. So we're about 70% done with that, and if anyone in California is willing to take over that, we will gladly hand it over. Otherwise, we have some people who are planning on continuing with that. The second project was a Creole to English, English to Creole dictionary. It's intended for offline use, so that people on the ground can download this application, take it with them, and then have access to a dictionary. And I actually have it loaded on my phone. It only works a little bit though.
That's awesome.
But it should by tomorrow evening. It I think will be ready to submit to the iPhone App Store.
That's so
Wow.
My name's Justin. I was with the People Finder / Family Reunification project. Basically, we spent the morning. Google has already created a central database for all the missing people in Haiti. So what we did this morning was grab unstructured data from blogs, news articles, Facebook, various websites, and aggregated that into a list. And we started manually just pumping that data in. Also, we encouraged a lot of the site editors to stop their efforts and redirect their users and visitors to Google's website. One of those websites had 4,000 records of unstructured data, which they're now structuring. So by the end of the day, the 8 of us that were working on that project are going to be responsible for getting about somewhere around 5,000 missing persons records into
Just to add to that, I just got in touch with the folks at the New York Times. I created one too, so they're now unifying that with Google. And if anyone has any contacts at like CNN, because CNN also has a separate one.
I talked to the Times as well.
Awesome.
Okay,
Great.
good. Yeah.
Who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm an amateur radio operator, and American Radio Relay League has networks. They had some of the first contacts after the crisis. I just got set up. So
He went out and bought a computer for this.
yeah.
So,
It was overdue, so I got a new network. At any rate, I'm going to get all the links I can so we can interface, because they're running their own networks. American Radio Relay Leagues was set up. The history of amateur radio is the reason the government gives the licensed frequencies away for free is because it was primarily set up to handle this type of operations. Amateur radio operators are the first ones to get the communications links out, because when everything goes down, the cell towers die and all the cables get cut. The amateurs have got portable radios and a car battery and hook it up and start talking. Guys in Colorado were picking up messages.
that's great.
So we worked on adding data to OpenStreetMap using the donated imagery from GeoEye and Digital Globe. We had about 30 people at some point during the day. Most of them had never edited for OpenStreetMap, and a lot say they're going to continue the next couple of weeks as we get new imagery to add roads and update infrastructure. So.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Anybody I'm forgetting? Well, we'll start front to back.
I just, as a citizen of Haiti, I just wanted to thank all of you for coming out here today. It's a lot to me, it's a lot to everyone down there. I talked to friends down there, they explain the situation, they say it's really terrible. One thing that they can is the work with the national community. People that really instigate stepping up and helping out. So I just want to say thank you.
Sweet. One more.
The application needs to send an SMS message to me talking about it.
Yeah, quick update there. That must be an SMS link of sorts. We're working for about 2.5 days. All of Katie will essentially open up an SMS channel on the ground via shortcut. Going around with 200 openings up the hour. 4636 don't do anything with that yet, but it's ready to go. It's been tested at different sites on the ground. Working on the right auto reply. Basically, it's crisis reporting. And we want to be able to try to geotag it. It's all the unstructured free form that we set up 4636wc.com. Check that out. Basically, we have hopefully about 10,000 volunteers who can be structuring that unstructured data and categorizing it by subcategories, geotagging it, passing it to ICRC, EIS, and hopefully it'll be active.
Well, and on that note, we can't thank you enough for providing the space and play what you did for us. Awesome. Incredible. And your space is awesome, and thank you so much.
Yeah, so we're going to do this again in a couple weeks?
No, seriously. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, I think this is the start, as we said at the beginning, but not the end. and it has to keep going. And you know, I think what was created here, as much as code, there was community created here that has to keep going. We need to spend. I have a very specific request. We need to spend the next hour. Please spend the next hour doing one of these three things.
How does that jive with happy hour?
I will not be happy unless this hour gets spent this way. Number one, hand off your projects or ensure their continuation somehow. That may mean build a team that continues to work on it tomorrow. It may mean handing it off to the West Coast. Do what feels right for you and whatever it is that you're doing. 2, clean up this office. Make sure that this office is spick and span by the time that you walk out the door. It is your responsibility. I remember all of your names and I'm holding all of your families hostage. Please do this for me. 3, forgot what 3 is. Does anybody know what 3 is? 3 is plan on going to the happy hour afterwards. And if you are going, let Gunnar know. If you have not RSVP'd, let Gunnar know.
Actually, that's a foregone thing. They'll have enough booze at their
Great. So you don't have to do that.
Right, the happy hour, incidentally, is going to be an open bar for an hour.
Where?
Wait. We clean up and do our stuff for an hour? Like, you guys are going to go drink all the booze?